What would you do if I told you that the key to changing your life was changing your relationship with productivity? And what if I told you that there was an easy-to-read, engaging manual that would help you do just that? Tiny Experiments is one of those books that I don't recall precisely how I became aware of it. It seemed to simultaneously come from nowhere and be everywhere. It was an event horizon I couldn't seem to escape. Interviews with the author arrived in my article feeds. The book was chosen as a book club entry for an online community that I participate in. Podcasters I listened to were discussing it seemingly at every turn. And then I realized it was already in my Kindle library. Tiny Experiments was born as the author, Anne-Laure Le Cunff, realized that she was unfulfilled in what, for all outside appearances, was her dream job. Sound familiar? In the book, she makes a compelling case that to find freedom, fulfillment, and satisfaction in life, we have to be willing to experiment, to procrastinate, and to reinvent. We have to willingly accept the existential dread that comes from embracing the unknown. Just a few years ago, this would have terrified me. Now it resonates. It was the book's ubiquity that convinced me to crack it open. By the time I had finished the introduction, I was already on board. I found my own life experiences mirrored in these pages, and I felt inspired. Part of that is why this entire endeavor began. But why? What was it about Tiny Experiments that resonated with me so? If you'll allow me a digression, but in medicine, as in many professions, there's an endless pressure to do more, to be more. Administrators are constantly badgering us to see more patients, to do more surgeries. They don't say the quiet part out loud, but we all know the truth. They're pushing us to make more money for the organization. Such is capitalism. But the result of that is that every time they offer to help us, it's a thinly veiled attempt to just jack up our productivity. The humanity has been so utterly stripped out of the process that we're left empty tools for the machine. The truth is that corporate bullshit with names such as optimization are foisted upon us without our input or our consent. A profession that should be the most human of all becomes an automated millstone, spinning and grinding. And we are the grist. It is untenable. It is unsustainable. I was looking for solutions and for options. Something needed to change. I thought the answers would lie in changing my behaviors, really dialing things in. I read the book Stick With It by Sean D. Young and Atomic Habits by James Clear, amongst others. I found value in both books. They offered some clear suggestions of steps to make lasting change, as well as insight into the benefits of making those changes. But they didn't inspire me. Even thinking about applying the methods and tools that both books offered felt like work. Then I read Tiny Experiments, and my outlook changed. In the author's own words, she says, "After years of hustling, I finally went to a place I had never allowed my adult self to go to before. I admitted that I was lost, and that was the most liberating thought I'd ever had." As I've mentioned before, Burnout and I were old friends. I'd tried to mitigate it. I'd hustled, I'd read the productivity guides, I'd watched the videos, I'd tried the different apps, and I'd taken the courses. I still felt unfulfilled, because I too was lost. Realizing that, admitting that fact, and then accepting it for what it was, unlocked something inside of me, and I was thrilled. My work wasn't and couldn't fulfill me. It took so much more than it could ever give back. I couldn't just keep doing what I had been. At the same time, there were so many reasons that I want to stay at my job, so many things about it that I love. I had to find other ways to fulfill myself. At the same time, I felt like a failure. I was a doctor who didn't want to be identified only as a doctor. I was a fraud. I was plagued with guilt. But it turns out I didn't need to be. Again, Le Cunff says the following: "When we fixate on finding one singular purpose, we rule out the side quests that help us grow the most. Your life doesn't need to follow predictable acts and arcs. The best stories are full of surprises, with colorful characters and unexpected plot twists. To avoid recycling old stories, we need to break free from the scripts we write for ourselves." I believe this is the key. In Tiny Experiments, Le Cunff posits that traditional, focused goal setting is a setup for failure. I've long felt that New Year's resolutions fell into this category. But she argues that the linear nature of most all goal setting, all that can do is force us onto a path that isn't the best one necessarily for us. If you look around, we're told that SMART goals are the key to unlocking our potential and happiness. Any deviations from this linear path are looked upon as failure. In the end, our 6-month, our 3-year, and 5-year plans become prisons. They lock us into something we don't even know if we truly want. But there's a different option: tiny experiments. A scientist herself, Le Cunff argues that we'll find more fulfillment if we treat life as a laboratory. And the truth is, just like in the lab, while a very small amount of experiments are actually resounding successes and change the course of science, the vast majority are failures or only minor successes. From the book, in the words of John Maxwell, the more you do, the more you fail. The more you fail, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. So adopting a mindset where failure is at least as important as success frees us. Our failures become data points, not damning commentaries on our worth as humans. We overcome the anxiety and the uncertainty that plague us. We learn to embrace it. We look forward to it. We become excited about truths that eventually will be revealed as we explore the unknown. As Le Cunff says, even in the face of adversity, we can send a powerful message to ourselves. Our value isn't contingent upon perfect conditions or outcomes, but on our commitment to ourselves and our journey. We accept that our existence is enough. It is worth celebrating. We have intrinsic value as people, not just in what we produce. We find power in committing to ourselves, not our output. In the book, Le Cunff lays out a practical and a clear method to run these types of experiments in our own lives. She offers a comprehensive framework that gets us on the path to living an experimental life, and it's both an approachable one that's easy to follow and helps make suggestions, giving us ideas of mindset changes that will put us on the path to personal experimentation. She walks through a systematic method of making a pact with ourselves, of taking clear steps consistent with that pact, and then periodically reevaluating with what she refers to as a triple check method of any roadblocks that we encounter along the way, because we're going to. In essence, Tiny Experiments, in my opinion, is a manual for better living, for living a life unfettered by the fear and the anxiety that so many self-help gurus throw at us constantly. They do it because their job is to convince us that if we don't use their perfect system, if we don't follow their goal-setting plans, we will remain eternally unfulfilled. But that's all a bunch of lies. Instead, there is no fear-mongering in Tiny Experiments, just this most important question: what makes you come alive? Ultimately, there is no more noble ambition than answering this question. Like Pinocchio, we all yearn to live life to its fullest. But as our paths likely won't involve fairy godmothers, the magic for us lies in discovering the experiences that light that spark. And throughout the book, we're encouraged to find those answers. I have thought about aspects of this book every day since I started reading it. It informs how I approach my life on a daily basis. Some days I do great. I check off tasks. I get things done. The experiment, it's a success. But most days are less than that. And that's awesome. I learn from those days. Rather than beating myself up, I ask questions. I make adjustments. I embrace another day, another experiment. And then I reevaluate. I keep seeking those answers. I haven't felt this passionate about a book in years. It literally changed my life. I encourage you, read the book. It's a great one. If you don't want to read the book, there are plenty of videos with the author, interviews. I'll link to one right here. But I haven't felt this passionate about a book in years. It literally changed my life. But it did so in a tiny way, as intended.